We have massive updates regarding the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. A genocide, of course, has broken out. I say of course, but not everybody is willing to call it that. I wanted to share with you guys this insane interview that Crystal and Sagar did on Breaking Points. Now, you might not be familiar with Crystal and Sagar. They were political commentators on a program called The Hill, and then actually left there to start their own project. It has been massively successful. If you are somebody who does not like the mainstream media coverage, you have to check out Crystal and Sagar. Sagar is a Republican, Crystal a progressive Democrat, and here they grilled Democratic Senator Elissa Slotkin. Now, she was a former CIA worker in the Middle East. She's, I believe, out of Michigan, and is kind of one of those centrist Democrats. So frustrating as we watch with our own eyes on social media as these Palestinians are literally starving themselves to death. Israeli officials are confiscating and targeting the confiscation of baby formula and other supplies that are needed to save these lives. And here we have Crystal doing great journalism as she tries to press a senator who has more power than she wants to say. They say, well, we're the minority, we can't get a bill passed. But these are the most powerful people in our government, and they refuse to call it what it is, a genocide. Have a listen to Crystal pressing her on the matter.
In the conversation.
So B'Tselem and another Israeli human rights organization joined the global consensus, Amnesty International, some 800 scholars. There was a piece from an Israeli scholar in the New York Times in saying this is a genocide. Do you accept, even Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday came out and said it's a genocide. Do you accept that? And if you do, I mean, what responsibility does a United States senator have for, this is a nation that, you know, we send every year billions of dollars to aid that you have, you know, voted for and supported. Like, what responsibility does a United States senator have to prevent genocide and to stop genocide that we see ongoing?
We have a responsibility up till today to ensure that food is getting in.
Is it
so
a
that
genocide?
People don't starve. I don't know that I'd use that term,
Why?
but it is violating the law of war.
Why don't you use the term, though?
Because I think, you know, it's, to me, do I think it's ethnic cleansing, which is what I think of in genocide? I don't know if it meets that definition.
And by the way, earlier in the interview, she did call it ethnic cleansing. Crystal and Sagar do such a fantastic job asking tough questions you're just not getting. And by the way, you'll never see another senator on Breaking Points, at least with regard to situations like this, because they cannot answer these questions that the American people have. But good on Crystal for asking.
They're announcing
but didn't you say it earlier that it was ethnic cleansing? You said that they wanted to force it. I mean, this is open from the Israeli government. Like, they're saying it. Their
And from
Minister
Trump,
of National
too.
Security, they come out and they're like, we don't need shells. We need shells, not food.
And that's literally what they're saying out of their mouths. We don't need food going into Gaza. We need shells, that being bullets and bombs. Our money is funding it. And what has it gotten them? Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, his plan, people are turning on it. They're saying, what the hell is going on? They're not there just to fight Hamas. They're there to push the people out and reestablish that land. Everybody sees it's not like a secret game plan happening. And so now we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. Listen, I am okay agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene on certain things. She says it's the most truthful and easiest thing to say that October 7th in Israel was horrific. Absolutely. And all the hostages must be returned. Absolutely. But so is the genocide, humanitarian crisis, and starvation happening in Gaza. These innocent lives, the unbelievable collateral damage that has come from this war is something that people are no longer willing to turn a blind eye towards. Senators are weighing in on the famine. Now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the first Republican to call it a genocide, and by the way, Democrats, you do not want to be on the wrong side of this story. Now, there are plenty of Democrats that have spoken out. Bernie Sanders, obviously a Jewish senator in Vermont, and plenty of others that have spoken out about it. I'm not here to shame anybody who didn't want to call it that before, but where we stand right now is a time that where we don't have the time anymore to play with terminology. It is a genocide.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene called it a genocide happening in Gaza. Do you think she's right? I've not been to Gaza. So until you get there, I guess you don't know exactly what's going on.
Senator Rick Scott, Republican of Florida. I haven't been to Gaza, so I couldn't tell you. What a bitch. What a spineless bitch. Playing dumb as our money is going over there and fueling this starvation.
But you don't want people at war. You don't want people starving.
What do you say to the critics who think that what Israel's doing with regards to the food and the aid is considered a form of genocide?
I say this is America. They're entitled to their opinion. If it wasn't for the First Amendment, how would we know who the fools are? What I would respond is...
So, and again, he says, if it wasn't for the First Amendment, how would we know who the fools are? Is he saying that people calling this a genocide are fools? I don't believe so. I think it's just a dumb, stupid quip. He just pulls them out of his ass. But he says what they're doing is wrong, and yet they are not brave enough to call it what it is, a genocide. And of course, if we call it a genocide, then we have to take the necessary measures to intervene. Here's Jon Stewart, one of the smartest and bravest voices out there, unafraid to share his opinion.
I feel like I'm watching something that is so self-evidently inhumane and horrific, and to be told that I have to shut up because I risk the Jewish state by speaking out, I would say the opposite. I think they're putting the likelihood of a surviving Jewish state much more at risk with this type of action. I think they're the ones that are being if you want to define Netanyahu, with the definition of anti-Semitism, would probably have to bomb himself.
I mean, Martin Luther King said that white and black Americans were bound up in a single garment of destiny, right? Palestinians and Israeli Jews, and in some ways Jews around the world, we're bound up in a single garment of destiny. If we want Israeli Jews to be safe, and I care passionately about the safety of Israeli Jews, in the long term, Israeli Jews are only going to be safe if Palestinians are going to be safe.
It sounds so simple to say, but they thrive when they're both living with having that openness, that trade, that ability to not live under oppression. That's where you would thrive. And again, I know, I'm just some podcaster, telling you what would lead to peace in the Middle East. I know it's more complicated than that, but this solution, eradicating Palestinian babies, it ain't it. The UK is set to recognize Palestinian state in September unless Israel agrees to Gaza ceasefire.
This is the moment to act. So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution. And this includes allowing the UN to restart the supply of aid and making clear that there will be no annexations in the West Bank.
Wow. I mean, look, it's a wild time to be alive. It absolutely is. And what side of history we want to be on is up to us to determine. I know mine, and I think you guys know yours. Well, I tell you what, it is tough to digest all of this heavy news. It's a wild time to be alive, but I couldn't ask to have a better audience, a kinder, more graceful audience that is there, understanding and compassionate. So thanks again, guys, for being a part of this journey as we, our small and humble little crowd try to fight for these victims and try to, spread love and some positive energy. We'll be back this afternoon. We're here twice a day, every day. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.